didn't know if I was gonna do a video like this today or not. I posted 16 other ones though today, and I wasn't sure if I was going to actually do one like this. For me, it was a hard weekend because there was a beautiful meadow where the pollinators had a field day. It was really growing. It was almost as tall as I was. Some of it was taller than me. And I videotaped it when the flowers were in bloom and you saw the dragonflies, the honeybees, the butterflies, but I didn't see any hummingbirds. And then on Thanksgiving Day, I go over there and they had cut it down and gave the lame excuse that there was an invasive species. The invasive species are the people bringing over the invasive species because there shouldn't be iguanas in this area, and neither should there be roosters. And there's loads of cats. So they gave the lame excuse to cut it down, and then after they did that, they threw a pile of garbage on top of it. I don't appreciate being lied to, and I don't appreciate an untruth. Not only that, but when I did post a video, I saw something that really bothered me, that they had no right to do. Because I was exposing, I was uncovering the dirty deeds of what all of those who had decided to do to that property that they had no right to touch. And on the other side of that meadow, there was a space where they sell fishing boats. And what did they do? They cut down a whole bunch of trees to throw down hideous white rocks to expand their business to sell more fishing boats. Now, I don't see any of those businesses cleaning out the ocean or the bay. I don't see them offering that at all, or even trying to educate boaters to do something like that, or to be careful because there are manatees there. I don't see any one of them doing that. I don't see any one of them telling them to keep the oceans clean. And then when you see the hotels around here, you see them doing work on the property, and they have tiki huts, and they take the grass off the tiki hut and throw it in the bay or the ocean. And if I'm in a canoe in the bay or wherever, I'll just go grab it and bring it back to them and tell them to throw it out. I have cleaned out the ocean many times from bottles that they threw in there or whatever. And then there was a beautiful tree. In fact, there's a lot of beautiful trees around here that they just cut down. Instead of treating it, giving it what it needed, they'd rather cut it down. Because if you come down here, you can see who they're in service to. Walk in the market, have a look there. Then you could see what kind of businesses are around here and aren't. And I'm not one to keep my mouth shut when I see things that where I feel they could be doing better, like respecting the planet. pick up the garbage. There's no need to cut down any trees. You can grow hemp for everything. The birds need a home. They need a food source. The pollinators need a home. They need a food source. Wildlife needs a home. They need a food source. And if you don't stand up for nature, what are you going to do when it's gone? Nature needs all of us to buy up the properties and leave it wild so that they have a home too. Because if you look around, a concrete jungle is no place to live, where you have no breathing space. It's horrible. And then you wonder why people are sick. I mean, I could really go off right now, but I'm not going to go there. And what else? After that happened, that was very upsetting on Thanksgiving Day. And after that, to be honest, I didn't even feel like doing a video at all. Because when you looked at that, it's like stepping into another world, and it gives you life just by being there, being present with it and watching them enjoy themselves. And if you sit there in silence, it could teach you so much if you're open to receiving the messages. Nature is more important than you know. A concrete jungle has no value. I mean, it may give people places to live, but even that, you need to get out for a while. You may have businesses, but even so, you need to get out in nature for a while. You can't just keep living there. So I like to do my meditations and my activations differently all the time. I don't just like to stick to the same old thing. So it's different, but I'm making do with what I have. And if I had what I had still, I could have made it even more creative, but I don't. That's gone. So it is what it is for right now. It's not going to remain this way. It's just because of where my financials are that it is this way. Am I really thrilled about it? Not really, if you want the truth. Because I like to have my tools, because it's more fun to work with sometimes. Or permission slips, as Bashar puts it. Because it's fun to have it. And I did have it, but now I don't. So I have to make the best of the situation. And it's been cold here, and I did a fast yesterday, but then in the evening I ate because it's kind of hard to fast when you're cold. So I know if I was living in my own house and had my money and my car and everything else, there'd be no problem fasting. Because I did it last year when I was staying with someone, doing work for them, healing sessions, and then I stayed with her a long while. I fasted for about 2 weeks, and then somebody broke it because I had to something happened, and so I broke it. Otherwise, if that didn't, I would have kept going for the 21 days. But then I stopped and then started again, and I did 21 days, but not all together. And then I posted or had shared that there was starships, spaceships, aircrafts that were flying through Costa Rica or over Costa Rica. There was a bunch of them. It seemed like a fleet of them, but and I wanted to share that because we are not the only ones that exist out there in the universe. And, you know, when people say, oh, you know, we've had alien contact, well, everybody comes from somewhere. I think that's an ignorant thing to say. And I hate the word individual, too. I can't stand it. And so there are many beings here from other worlds. And just because someone looks human doesn't mean they are. And for me, what I wanted before I even stepped into this, before this ever found me, the energy work, the spiritual way of life, I knew about the other worlds, and when I found out about it, I was thrilled and wanted to see all of those benevolent beings from other worlds come live here with us in the great wide open and enjoy themselves. And you got to be careful because there's all kinds out there, just like there's all kinds of people. You have the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so you want to be careful. And then I'm told to reintroduce myself, but usually you do that when you have something to show for it, when you have created something that can really introduce you. But because of my lack of funds, I haven't been able to do that. Although I have created something, but I haven't been able to get it from A to B because of the funds and situations with, how I did it. Which would make me feel a whole lot better if I was able to do that. But I haven't been. And for the financial situation that I'm in, I would not do this to myself. I don't care what anybody says, because I've always financially provided for myself. I've always had a roof over my head. I've always had a car. I've always had a passport. I've always made sure that I would never have to rely on the government or getting a card like that. I was always made sure that I had more than enough to take care of myself. And I have no tickets. I have a perfect driving record. Not that I've driven in years, but when I was driving, it was perfect. I haven't driven in I don't know how long now, a car. And the last time I went to get my license, I was seeing double. That's never happened before. But also, I've never had a dental implant before either. And when I was seeing double, it was on the side where the dental implants are above and below each other. Isn't that interesting? And there's lots of things that I would love to do, but I just don't. If I had the means, I would do that. And I feel that freedom of speech is really important, and nobody should be silenced just because of how they feel about things and they want to share it with others. And nobody has a fucking right to put a copyright on it just because they don't like what somebody said. Do you hear me? I feel that if you have the means to buy YouTube so that people can speak the way they want to speak without being limited to what they can say because YouTube doesn't like what they're saying, I feel that whoever is for freedom of speech, hopefully they will buy YouTube and get rid of who is limiting people, and they're not allowed to speak the way they want to. And I know for a fact that because of my funds and the way I've been forced to do things, that I've helped out a lot of people. I know that for a fact. But as far as the funds are concerned for me, it hasn't helped me. I haven't gotten anything off of YouTube, nothing. And still, I stay on top of my session work every single day. In fact, I have been here every single day this year, and now it's almost December 3rd. And I started last year. And many times I put up more than 50 videos a day. And I had to wait until the next day because I exceeded the limit. And today I did 17 or 18 videos in one day, and it's only December 2nd. I like to do things a little differently. I have to make do with what I have, so times like that, you gotta think differently, do things differently. Oh, and something did pop up today again that really was upsetting. I don't know if you know about PETA. That's an organization where they're on top of what's happening with the animals. Well, today it seemed like it was factory farm animals, and there were a bunch of piglets and a bunch of birds where they didn't treat the piglets well. They picked them up and threw them down and took like a tag gun and stuck it in their ear, and then they just killed them just like that. And then with the bird, they punched the bird and knocked the bird over. Before you ever eat meat or seafood again, I'm asking every single person on the face of this earth that eats meat and seafood, you go to a factory farmed place and you see how those animals are treated. And then see if you will still eat that animal. Because what you're doing is you are ingesting suffering. Once you ingest suffering, do you think there's any escape? That animal suffered and gave its life so you can eat it, and you have no regard for how that animal lived. What damage do you think that's doing to you on every level? You want the truth? There it is. I'm not trying to sugarcoat this. I'm not trying to hide it. I'm not trying to make a sale or trying to let me just calm down a minute. I challenge you, go to those factory farms, see how those animals are being treated, and see if you'll want to eat it ever again. And then ask yourself, meditate, go in your heart of hearts, ask your heart, what is this doing to me on every level? And see what your heart says. If you can stop the chatter in your mind and completely silence the mind. This is not about logic. This is allowing your heart to speak. These activations bypass the logical mind. The mind is not supposed to understand it. It goes directly to the heart. If an animal died a brutal death, and then you bought it to eat it, what do you think it's doing to you mentally, physically, emotionally, on every level, in every way? And how much do you think your physical body can take? Lots of people like to give excuses saying, oh, but you know, I feel better. Oh, and this works out, and that works out, and I can't eat this, and blah, 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 blah. So many excuses. But think about it. Would you want your family to be treated like that? Would you yourself want to be treated like that, the way those factory farm animals are treated before they're put on your plate? They have families too. They can feel just like we can. They know love just like we do. So by you buying meat and seafood and getting your fishing boats, what do you think you are? You think you're part of the solution or part of the problem? And when you have your fishing boats, do you clean out the oceans? Are you making sure the water is crystal clear where you can see the bottom of the ocean? Because that's the way it should look. And if you're not doing it, when are you going to give back to make sure that it is? How much have you been taking on a daily basis and never giving back? And then you see these big, beautiful fish that nobody's ever seen. And to take it out of the water, to hold it as a trophy over your head, how do you really think people see you? That is not a role model. That is not a great example. It's when you have a heart for another living being that's suffering. And you show people the right way to treat them. And instead of, there's people, they call this paradise. But I don't see anybody protecting nature. They just rather be happy in their drunken stupor, trashing the place for a profit. They weren't too happy when I did go all out, all in on my last video, but I removed it. But I should be able to speak my mind on behalf of nature and the wildlife. If I shouldn't have to worry about what others think or feel about it. Because if you really meditate and feel, go see how those animals are treated. And feel, is that the right thing to do? And can you yourself do better? Just because you have teeth doesn't mean you're supposed to be a carnivore and eat meat. I've heard those shows. Can't stand it. They'll say anything to make sure they're making a profit. But it's really doing you more harm than good. But to each his own, it's up to you. I am not a meat eater. I do not eat any meat whatsoever. I do not eat any seafood whatsoever. I feed animals. I do not eat them. And then even with the plants, they feel too, so you want to be really careful with that too. And there are people on the planet who haven't had anything to eat or drink in 14 years. Now that's having great control over your own being, over your mind, over, they must have really let go of the ego. They're no longer in service to the ego if they have that kind of control. That's impressive. And so, why do you think they flooded this country with drugs? It's all about profit, right? I mean, I could go off on a lot of things right now that are really upsetting. Like who bails out the banks? Why would you ever bail out a bank? Feed the homeless, take care of the orphans, take care of the people who have been left with nothing because they married some stupid idiot who took everything from them and wanted to ruin them. And then when they got divorced, ended up with nothing, and then they're lying about them on top of it because they don't want their stupid little secrets out of how they're doing what to who. Take care of those people. There's so much that you don't know, and you really have to be cautious when you're listening to information because you don't really know if you can trust it or where it's coming from. But there's nothing fake or phony about this channel, I tell you that. Everything that I've talked about, I have been through it. And I talk about things that need protection. The animals need protection, they're counting on us. Nature needs protection, they're counting on us. And I also put up a post about the third eye and the fluoride in the drinking water. And so you think, okay, well, if that's happening, what else is happening to prevent you from tapping into your own gifts? They're trying to keep people dumbed down and where they want them. They don't want them to wake up and discover who they really are. They don't want them to meditate. They don't want them to still the mind. They don't want them to focus on their vibration. They don't want them to focus on their alignment. They don't want them to focus on higher consciousness. Why? Because they're too busy trying to control your mind and your money. I'm just going to tell you like it is. I don't need to sugarcoat it. I know the hell I've been through. I've been to hell and back many times. Many, many, many times. And many times it's a miracle that I'm still here. I don't know how many people could have even survived what I've been through. I don't even know how far they could have gotten going what I've been through. Or if they would have been tempted with whatever appeared in their reality if they had to do what I did. This is why you can't assume anything until you've walked a mile in those shoes and experienced what they've experienced. Because it just makes those that assume look, like they don't know anything. If you talk to them yourself, then that's what you're doing. You're just assuming, and you think you have all the answers, but you don't. It's really important to meditate every single day. It's really important to still the mind and go within every single day. It's really important to focus on your breath, do the breath work. It's really important to spend lots of time in nature. And if you're shy, if you're fearful, if you are unhappy with your life, if you're doing things to hurt yourself, look deeper as to why you're doing that. The only way you're going to find out is if you spend alone time with yourself meditating. Get away from everybody that's around you and go be alone and meditate. And stay there however long it takes. To get what you need. You never find the answers outside of yourself. You will only find them within. Because there's too much of a circus act going on outside of yourself if you've never meditated before, if you don't know yourself. And if you just have money and have never done any spiritual sessions at all, it's really important that you make that a priority, but you know what's best for you in your heart of hearts. And spend as much time alone with yourself as you need. And you don't know how long it's going to take. But if you're spiritually dead, you're going nowhere. If you just have money, so what? If you just have the riches on earth, so what? The ascended masters that came before us, like Jesus, what did he say about the riches on earth and the riches in heaven? If you don't understand what he's saying, don't you think it's time that you find out exactly what he meant? There's a lot I could say right now, but I'll just keep it to myself. I think I've said plenty already, so I think I'll end it here. Please like, share, and subscribe. The more this information gets out to people, the better. If you have a comment or you want to share, you can put it in the description box below or email me at reinadhabsborg@gmail.com. If you'd like me to do an energy reading, send a picture. Or if you'd like to register for a group or private, you could do that either way too. Have a great night, and I'll see you next time.